Sir, we are live now. We can start.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So hi. So first of all, good afternoon to all of you. So I can see. So I'm monitoring the live session also. So currently, I'm seeing three people are waiting. Uh, and maybe if you have any questions, then you can just type in the chat box. And then I'll try to answer as many as you ask, or in the if you have any doubts or regarding any topic which you are kind of covering as of now or in the course or something like that. Okay. So maybe in 5 minutes or so, I'll try to answer a couple of questions which are there in the text box. But apart from that, let's say if you have anything else, any other doubts or questions, then just feel free to just type them in the chat box. Okay. Uh, all right. Yeah. So again, just to introduce, so people are joining now. So we have a very few of you. But again, like I said, so feel free to just ask any questions you have. Just type them in the chat box. Okay, and in few minutes I'll try to answer a couple of questions which I have in the summary sheet. So there was a sheet floated to all of you, right? So and then there I have a couple of questions which I'll try to answer. Yeah. So for example, we have got the first one. So what should be the minimum sample size for time series analysis? Yeah. So can you just type your name also? Your Parag, it seems, right? Is this Parag? Hi. And yeah, so I believe his name is Parag. So Parag is asking what should be the minimum sample size for any time series analysis. So again, like I said, so time series is nothing different, right? I mean, when you talk about in terms of sample size, okay, Parag Kulkarni, yeah. So welcome to the live session. So you have to treat time series data as any other data when it comes to sample size. So roughly, I tell this to all my students that around 5 to 10%, okay, of the population should be okay to sort of proceed ahead and then collect some and then do some analysis. Okay. Now again, remember one thing that although I say this, there is a small difference that in time series you want to capture, let's say, slightly longer term trends and seasonalities, etc., etc. Okay. So let's say around 50 observations or 50 to 100 observations should be kind of enough. All right. Now again, that depends on what time frame you're kind of collecting the data at. So if you have a monthly data which records, say, temperature, right? So obviously then if you have data for, let's say, even 2 years or 3 years, that should be kind of sufficient. Okay, because there you will sort of identify the seasonalities and other patterns, changing variance, etc. Okay, so hope that point is clear. Okay, so yeah, so again, like I said, in the sheet which was floated to you, there are two people. So Kaustub, are you here? Kaustub and Aritra. So if you can just write your names or something like present or something, Kaustub and Aritra Roy. Uh, okay, so Parag, okay, yeah, I think this is a response for what I asked earlier. So is Kaustub here and is Aritra here, or maybe we can wait for a few minutes. Okay. Anyhow, any other questions? So we started off with one by Parag, but anything else at all? Yeah. So again, like I said, if Kaustub is here and Aritra is here, then just write your names. Okay. Or to all the other people, other four people who are listening and joining. Any questions which you may have. So let's say textbook related or concepts, topics, anything. Okay. All right, yeah, great. So Aritra, yeah, okay. So Aritra is here. So you asked a question on the sheet. So I try to answer that, Aritra, if you're able to hear me. Yeah, so I just take one question by Aritra, then I'll move ahead. So his question was that how relevant are classical time series methods like Arima and Garch in the industry today? So yeah, so of course this question is pretty valid because due to the technological advancements, right? I mean, you'd like to believe that people are moving slowly towards, let's say, ML or hybrid models or deep learning, which is kind of also correct, in some sense. Okay, but in practice, you have a lot of applications can be still fitted using a simple ARIMA. All right, and then maybe I'm not so I'm not recollecting if you have kind of covered ARIMA and GART so far in the course. But again, the idea is that if you have very basic trend in the data, right? Or let's say if you have very basic seasonality in the data, so you have fluctuations which are kind of controllable. Then a simpler model like ARIMA does the job. So you don't require any hybrid models, you don't require ML, you don't require deep learning, neural networks, etc. All right. So when do you require these? Is let's say if you have really big data and then lot of non-linearities in the data, etc. etc. Okay. But otherwise, I can sort of tell you a lot of applications which are kind of very basic, where you can kind of fit a simple model like ARIMA and then try to forecast. And same thing with guards also. So guards is in fact heavily used. Okay. So guards is heavily used in especially financial time series, because guard sort of controls the volatility of any data, right? So for example, let's say stock price or option pricing, etc. So there again, just to close this, that both ARIMA and GARS are kind of heavily used, and more like they're used. How exactly they're kind of used as, let's say, some benchmark models. Okay, so because both ARIMA and GARS are entirely explainable, they're kind of simple to handle, etc. Okay, so hopefully it makes sense. Yeah, there's one more question by Varad. Varad Apte. So any suggestions to learn more about hierarchical time series? Yeah, so again, hierarchical, exactly what do you mean? I'm not sure, Varad. So can you just type exactly what you mean? So do you mean something like a Bayesian idea per se, or hierarchical time series? Exactly what? If you can just mention that. Right? And again, I'll come back to you. Okay. Yeah, then there's one more question by Parag. So he's saying that you're confused about frequency domain. There were not enough examples from, say, stock or finance. Is frequency domain only when there is cyclical and seasonality? What about other patterns? Yes. So answer is yes, kind of. Okay. So again, answer. So when I say yes, let's say 80% of the cases. Okay. But of course, let's say if you want to capture some seasonality, other patterns, the data, etc., then obviously, so handling, let's say, something in terms of spectral analysis or frequency domain may not be the correct idea. Okay, so I'll give you an example. Let's say you have a stock and its stock price, and you can kind of break down the stock price into certain wavelets. Okay, now again, if you consider any wavelet, so wavelet is what? Wavelet is nothing but a sort of a repetition in terms of frequency, and so on and so forth. Okay, so I can sort of break down any underlying time series structure or time dependent structure into certain waveforms or wavelets, and then I can correlate with some sine curve or cosine curve or trigonometric curves, and in general spectral analysis. Okay. Yeah, there's one question by Amit. So I'm trying to analyze time series data from IoT based system. The sampling interval is 2 minutes for temperature, relative humidity, CO2. Are there any general data cleaning methods? Yeah, again, like I said, you ensure that the data is stationary, which is the very first key idea. So whichever response you're trying to measure, right? So let's say temperature or something like that. So that response has to be stationary. And apart from that, let's say in all the standard data cleaning approaches that you use in a stat score, so let's say handling missing values, handling outliers, right? So exact same thing you have to do here. Okay, but so again, but you should always remember one thing, that time series is a sequential kind of a data set, right? So so each and every observation depends on time. So even if you have some missing data or missing values here or there, then you should not replace them arbitrarily. You should not replace them randomly with some other observations. You should always keep in mind that underlying time frame or the underlying time progression that you have. Okay. Yeah, there's one more question by Parag. So LLM is used for everyday work. How to use it for time series will be covered in course. Yeah, again, unfortunately, not particularly LLM, right? Yeah, so Parag, I mean LLM, you mean some sort of a generative AI tool or something like that, or what do you mean exactly? So I can particularly give you two examples where people use LLMs quite a lot. So let's say if you are creating a trading strategy, for example, okay, and you have access to some time series data, some stock prices or momentum, volume, OHLC data, etc., then you can kind of curate the LLM, feed in the data, right, and then try to understand the underlying patterns, underlying trends, etc. So that people very much do, including me. Okay, so if you have a, let's say if you have a simple idea in mind or simple project to handle in mind, or let's say I want to analyze the trends or the underlying momentum structures in the data set. So you feed it inside ChatGPT or some LLM, and there you can sort of see. Then you can just simply now then once you enter it in ChatGPT, the entire idea is kind of prompt engineering, kind of. Okay, yeah, probably as Varad is pointing out. So time GPT is something to try. So you can go for time GPT. So now these days you have curated models also, right? So curated LLMs also. Okay, so there's one very interesting LLM entirely on finance, and I'm forgetting the name, but rather than using Chat GPT, people prefer that. So Fin GPT or something like that. So and it takes care of, let's say, like I said, so if you have a stock price, you want to analyze that, the underlying patterns, trends, etc. Okay. Oh yeah, so I think Varad is saying that hierarchy meaning, for example, I want to forecast sales of products at region. So the hierarchy is country, state, city, product. Okay, yeah. Yeah. So again, like I said, yeah. So in this course, will not cover that, unfortunately. So how do you combine each and every entity, right? So do one thing. So what I can do is I can give the email ID. Okay. So I think it'll be better if you just simply email me. If you require any other material or something like that. Okay. Yeah. So this is my email. Just send me a one-liner email that what queries you have, right? And I'll try to answer those. Or for example, as Varad, you're asking that, can you provide some resources? Just send me a one-liner email and then mentioning what you're looking for exactly, and then I'll try to reply. Okay. Okay. So yeah, I think Aritra is saying that I had asked two more questions in the form. Could you please give a brief answer? Yes, yes. So let me just try to find those. Because here, acha, okay. So maybe just one second. Okay. Yeah. Acha, so Aritra is saying that can you make a course on basic to advanced quant models, including CAPM, Markowitz, utility functions, Black-Scholes. Yeah, sounds interesting. So by the way, I teach a full semester course on portfolio techniques and quant strategies. So many of the topics you have mentioned are kind of included there. Okay. So I think the next thing I'll probably do is just take your suggestion and then float a short course, maybe 10 hours, on something like portfolio creation and then Markowitz model and etc. Okay. Yeah, and then I think Aritra, your last question is what are your views on diversification? It makes mathematical sense, but fails to consider conviction of the person in whether a particular stock goes up or down. Yeah, so I try to answer this part. So yeah, again, diversification is really important. Okay, and all these ideas, like you said, are covered in the portfolio course, not the basic time series course. Okay, so again, let's say you're curating a portfolio, you have some assets in that, and again, it need not be entirely equity specific. It might be multi-asset or something like that. Okay, so let's say you have created a portfolio, you made a portfolio, and then you want to answer that whether a particular asset in that portfolio goes up or down, right? And there, diversification is kind of really important because that the whole idea of diversification is reducing risk essentially. Okay, because you have two angles to that. So maximizing return and minimizing risk or reducing risk. Okay. So if your idea is to diversify, you're kind of focusing more on not just maximizing return, but to in some extent it's reducing the drawdowns, as we call it, or reducing the risk or something like that. Okay. Yeah. Again, there's one more question. I'm trying out middle, bottom up, and top down approach, but facing issue to get improvement and reconciliation. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. So again, like I said, the hierarchical time series, I may want to pinpoint it to some resources. So if you just email, right? Okay, I think that'll be better. Right. Yeah. As one of the suggestion, time GPT. I think this we've kind of covered. Uh, Acha, there's one more. So yeah, hopefully Aditra, I managed to answer the question in the sheet. I think there's one more last point by Aritra that are you looking for undergraduate research interns to help with ongoing projects? Yeah, so again, as of now, we have not opened to outside IIT Bombay students, frankly speaking. But again, NPTEL also has some program, right? I mean, you must have got some email that whosoever tops in a course can apply for a summer internship. Okay. And again, like I said, send an email. Send an email. I'll be more than happy to send you more details about that. Yeah, there's one more question by Aritra in the chat box that how to analyze the reason behind analyzing the predictions given by transformers as they're essentially black boxes. Yeah, so again, not just transformers, Aritra. So any ML model, or for that matter, any neural network, any deep learning model. But the whole idea is if you're able to capture the accuracy, then nobody questions a whole lot about, let's say, explainability, right? So, but yeah, what you're saying is correct. So explainability should be there to some extent, and hence people talk more about it's a hybrid model. So how do you combine ARIMA plus, let's say, random forest, or ARIMA plus some neural network, etc. So at least you're trying to preserve some explainability in the model through the idea of all these statistical models, and at the same time you're kind of trying to capture the nonlinearities and the underlying patterns and so on. Yeah, Aritra, I think, yeah. So, not Finbert. Finbert is, I think, a dictionary, huh, for NLP purposes. Yeah, so maybe I'll sometime down the line I'll just maybe I'll send an email to all the attendants. So there is one LLM particularly which handles financial data. I think it's inbuilt in ChatGPT if I'm not mistaken, but again not entirely sure, but not Finbert. Okay. Yeah, I think I did paste the email ID in the chat. So are you able to see? So are the others about Aritra? So are you able to get my email ID? Or one simple thing, just Google my name. Google my name will get to my web page. Okay. And there the first thing you'll see is the email ID. All right. I think that'll be an easier route. Okay, so now coming to the recent question by Bharat. So, what are your thoughts on sparse, many zeros in the data, time series data modeling? Any resource regarding this would? Yeah. So again, you have specific models. Okay. So essentially, the difference is whatever you're covering in this course could be fine tuned to sort of cater more to sparse data. Okay. So you might not have an entirely sort of a different model to cater to that, but again, let's say ARIMAs and other combinations, slightly hybrid versions, they are kind of capable to handle sparse data. Or you might have heard about inflated models, right? Inflated binomial, inflated negative binomial, inflated Poisson, right? So now think of a situation that you have some count data where you have lots of zeros, and also you have some time scale. Okay, so for example, let's say number of loan claims, every hour. Okay, so just a small example. So number of loan claims every hour, there might be lots of zeros. So where you don't have any claims, right? So this is a classic example of, let's say, something which is Poisson, plus you have to handle it with some sort of a Poisson time series regression kind of idea. Okay. Yeah, so you do have a lot of extensions of the existing models we're covering in this course. This could be extended to sparse data, etc. Yeah, not sure if you got my email ID or not, but again, like I said, go to my webpage. You will get to my email ID. Send me an email, right, and then we can discuss more. So it's Kaustub here, Kaustub Kisti. Are you here? Just type in the chat box. Then there's one more pending question in the sheet. Yeah, but again, apart from that, anything else? Any other doubts? Any other questions? Again, I think in the course also I might have mentioned textbooks for preliminary time series, but again, I'd like to reiterate that a couple of very good or rather standard textbooks are Shumway and Stouffer. Okay, so you might want to just write down Shumway and Stouffer, and the other one is Brockwell and Davis. Okay, so these are two preliminary textbooks of. Okay, yeah, hi, Kaustubh, yeah, yeah. So I think you had asked a question, right? So I'll try to answer that in the summary sheet. Just give me 1 second. So Kaustubh has a question that he's interested in quant finance. So which project will you recommend me to build which might showcase a good understanding of our language and stand apart from others in resume skill? Yeah, so again, a lot of ideas, Kaustubh. I mean, so a couple of examples just to give you is, again, we were having a discussion just a short while back that developing any trading strategy. Okay, because ultimately quant finances, they want to generate alpha. Right. So developing a trading strategy, and then there you have to analyze some time series data, right? Because let's say depending on whether you have access to order book data or stock price data, OHLC data, tick by tick, etc., etc., you might want to build some models on, let's say, very basic order book data of, let's say, Bitcoin or some other asset. right? So might want to just try on those lines. I mean, so it could be either, let's say, order book modeling, or it could be stock price forecasting, right? Or it could be something like option pricing. So these three are, I'll say, kind of very standard projects that people do. And even apart from that, let's say if you're not into trading, but let's say you want to develop some portfolios. So something for, let's say, medium to slightly longish term. Then you can also access, I mean, you have array of all the ML models that you want to try out. That how do you fine tune the portfolio? How do you assign weights to all the assets in the portfolio? So these are some of the example projects that you want to try out. Okay. And again, my suggestion is, even though this course is using R, right? But try to venture out into Python. Okay. So this is very strongly there in my mind also, to sort of translate this entire course into Python down the line. Down the line means soon, but let's say next year or something like that. So I think industry demands Python more these days. You might be aware, all of you, right? Again, the use case of R is what I mean. Pretty much any statistical model you can do in R, and time series is one of that. So you can kind of do any stats model in R. But let's say if you want to access some slightly bigger data, or lot of features, etc., etc. So then I think you have easier libraries in Python that will manage that. Uh, yeah, I'll try to bring this screen so that I don't see up. So the entire live session I've been seeing at a height. Anyway, so anything else? Yeah, hopefully Kaustubh, that answered your question. And of course, all the others also, Aritra, Bharat, Amit, Parag. See, I guess time series, so particularly this course is kind of important to do some project also. So even though this course is not a project, but as Kaustubh was mentioning, that once you're done with this course, try to pick up some small data, try to analyze that. Of course, so throughout the course, I have a lot of labs, right? So, but of course, you have to venture out into that, and then really practice at your own end. Okay. Just one second. Yeah, so there's one more question by Varad, that can we participate as a group in forecasting competitions, for example, VN2? Yeah, of course. So I'm not very sure about VN2, but what do you mean by participate as a group? I didn't get it. So participate as a group means what? Of course, the kind of a competition you're mentioning is quite relevant. But I mean, I'm hoping that you have a group and then you'd like to participate in that. Collaborate with peers in the group and go, yeah, of course, yeah. And you should do it rather. The only thing is, how do you find those peers? So maybe if you have email addresses of some of the other students in this course, right? You can at least start working in some smaller groups and then try to analyze some data, come up with some forecasts, etc. Any other questions, queries, concerns? See, again, so this platform is again to let me know if you are facing any problems, not just queries. Okay. Any suggestions that you might have. So something like that. Yeah, so Kaustubh is saying we'll look into that. Is it okay if I write you a mail and follow up on the idea that I will try to build upon? Currently, thinking about working upon some risk aspect like VAR, PM optimize. Yeah, yeah, sure. So again, as already I told you that get my email. I tried to write down my email here, but Varad is saying you're not able to see it. Let me try it one more time. I'll type it in the chat box. Okay, and you can send me an email anytime, and I'll reply. Okay. Yeah, there's one more question by Parag. So apart from mean and variance, which other parameter can affect time series data? Yeah, of course, correlation. I think we discussed in the course also, right? So auto correlation in time series is a major problem, kind of, isn't it? So auto correlation means what? So let's say if you have lags, then observations at certain lags, are they independent or are they dependent, right? So apart from mean and variance, of course, covariance between the lags. Okay. And of course, so I'm not sure if you've done a stats course or not, basic stats course, but something like skewness, kurtosis, right? I think these would be also useful. I'll suggest to include more examples of finance in spectral density. Okay, yeah. We'll try to incorporate. I already have your email. We'll follow up on that and have some conversations. Okay, yeah. All right, yeah, sure. When can we see updated course video in this course? Updated in what sense, Parag? Uh, yeah, let me just give you my email ID. I tried to write it down. I'm not sure if you're able to see it or not. It's Sudeep, Sudeep, B as in Bombay, right? At iitb.ac.in. Okay. So first name Sudeep, B as in Bombay, at iitb.ac.in. Latest of 2026, yeah. Yeah, so again, so apparently this is more like a rerun. No? This is more like a rerun of the course. So apart from the assignments, and pretty much I'll not try to update. But again, like I said, I'll take your suggestion. I have one of my own, like I said, to translate the codes into Python, right? So this part I'm kind of incorporating as we speak. Okay. So and the next iteration you'll see some modifications. Yeah, what I see is that most courses aren't dealing with real data like from market and build them end to end. Yeah. For example, build VAR for portfolio, etc. Good suggestion. Yeah. Good suggestion. So hopefully this 30-hour course is more like basics of time series. Yeah, but we can have a module where maybe I can give you some hints towards the project building, right? But then all the other work you do. Okay, so let's say I can give you some hints about what you're saying, that build a value at risk for portfolio sort of a framework. Okay, so I might tell you a few ideas, but then apparently pretty much all the work you can do at your own end or in groups or something like that. You're taking our sessions very fast, as I can see. Okay. So I'll try to slow down. But again, my habit is to speak fast. No, thanks for the point. So I try to slow down in the R sessions, especially. Okay. Yeah. Any other points or queries? See, just one point is that, as probably many of you are mentioning, that you have an entirely different course on financial time series. Okay. And there you'll be exposed to, let's say, Kalman filters, Arch, Gauge, of course, its extensions, right? Etc. Spectral, as probably somebody was mentioning. So that course is slightly advanced. Advanced in the sense that you have a lot of stochastic processes, so different option pricing processes, etc. Okay. Yeah, so I was to be saying works, but this is a common observation. Like even I had taken quant investment management in that too. No practical application we seen. This is general. Yeah, yeah. Right. No, no. Yeah, again, looking at the structure of the modules, na, so let's say, I mean, certain topics have to be just covered in half-hour session and so on. So maybe one suggestion is that, not suggestion, but one point we could do that is that, let's say if the course is 30 hours, we can sort of reserve the last entire 1 hour to exploring some really hands-on kind of a work. This could be done, I think. So the 1 hour towards the end to be broken down into again two half-an-hour chunks, and we can actually take some let's say high frequency financial data or some relevant time series data, work on that, etc. Is the financial course you were talking about earlier available to online learners? Also, I've sent an email. Please do check that when you. Yeah, no, no. The financial course is not floated ends. I mean, so the financial course is a slightly separate course which is taught in-person mode in universities. Okay. Or these days you actually find out a lot of online certificate programs around quant finance, financial markets, etc. So there you will kind of have an entire course on financial time series or financial econometrics. Right? So all these different ideas. Yeah, and then Aditya, I got your email. Yeah, I got your email. I'll try to reply. Yeah. Anyone else? Any other points? So again, I'm not able to monitor. the number of people coming in and going out. So uh, if there are new people in the chat or something, if you want to ask any questions, this is the place. Basically. Okay. Yeah, again, so to anyone who is new here, again, like I said, so if you have any questions, then please type them in the chat box or, and then I try to answer this. All right. So, could you recommend a few such courses? I'm currently pursuing the MIT's Micro Masters in Finance. What are your views on that particular course, and perhaps a few books to break into the industry? Yeah, yeah. I think email would be a good route, Aritra. So, give me a day. I'll just reply back to your email. Okay? I'll try to send some links or some resources, something like that. Okay. Yeah. Thanks, Parag, for the comment. Yeah, I think that's all from my side. If you don't have any questions, then we can close this. So I was just checking if there are any new people that would like to ask some questions, but yeah, maybe I'll just wait for 2 minutes and then we can close it. Sure, Amit. Yeah, most welcome. Yeah, I think I've tried to copy my email ID to the NPTEL team. Yeah, I think now you can see it. Right? Sure, Kaustubh. Yeah, please do. And then I'll try to reply with whatever your queries are. If you're asking for some resources, some other information, right? I'll be more than happy to help you out. Okay, so I think we'll close it. All right, so there are no new questions per se, or rather, no new people. So again, I had a good time interacting. There were a lot of good suggestions, in fact, including more applications, right? And making it slightly curated to finance, because I believe that a lot of you are kind of focusing on that aspect, right? again, like I said, so this is just a second iteration of this course, and then this is more like a rerun. Maybe next time what I'll do is I'll translate the material to Python firstly, and then I'll try to, like I said, there was one more suggestion that can you make it a little more practical oriented, at least let's say towards the end, which we discussed that could be done, right? So yeah, so having said all these few points, then I think we can close this session now. Right? Okay, so thanks a lot, and then take care.
Okay, so thank you so much. We are closing this session.
Yeah, yeah, sure. Thanks.